Good evening, everybody. I am delighted that we have got Jonathan Hay back for a part two. If you missed the part one, it was phenomenal. Not only did Jonathan regale us with his stories of some of the huge names he's worked with over the years, but also we went through the emotional journey, the trauma he experienced. It's still in my head to this day. I can't imagine facing almost being unalived in his own home, what he went through. If you missed part one, people, go back and watch it. And Jonathan, he looks like he's in a really better place this time from last time, and he's going to fill in a lot more of the details. And also, he's been talking about Johnny Depp, what Johnny Depp's nephew, who he's in business with, told him, which was absolutely mind-blowing. I've never heard anything like these allegations before. So please support him. I'll put his Instagram link in the live chat now. His X is down there in the description box if you're watching on replay, as is the link to Jonathan Part 1. So there's the Instagram in the chat. Please get your questions in. And thank you, Tammy. Yes, Mr. Hay is well and thriving. Your energy is completely transformed from last time, I think.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Talking about the home invasion with you, I went into that dark place, that dark space again. It was like you said, it was very emotional, but it was very freeing. I felt so good afterwards to speak about that, and it just kind of, opened me up, right? Plus my girl's here, which is amazing. Diana, shout out to Diana Pagan, right? She's here with me, so that's always fantastic. Last time she wasn't. So there's that. And, speaking about the home invasion, on April 20th, that's when it happened of all days, right? It happened on 4/20/2017, which I have tatted on my hand here, right? On 4/20 of this year, right, which is less than a month away, we're releasing the book. So on the 8-year anniversary. So try to undo, the trauma and stuff like that, right? So try to change from a trauma period, because I used to love 4/20 like everyone else. Now when everybody, because people don't realize it, so they're always like, happy 4/20, happy 4/20. Just like, bro, do you even realize what happened? So
Congratulations, man, on getting, you sweat blood to write a book, and by the time you're about to launch it, it's such a big deal because you've invested so much of your life into it. So that's great that you've reached this point almost.
Yeah, for sure. And I talked about the book a little bit in the last interview. We can't reveal anything yet, because like doing these interviews and stuff, which is shout out to Jaguar Wright for really like putting me on the map, right? She saw me on Tisa Tells and then pulled me into, this podcast, YouTube world. And like once I did that, I caught the attention of some very influential people. And so I spoke on the last interview that I did. I was like, it's coming out through a billionaire, and everybody started hitting me. Oh, it's Kanye West. Kanye West must be the guy that's putting out your book. So I can't say yes or no. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But, shout out to Kanye West. I know he's getting a lot of flack right now, and maybe it's going to upset a lot of people. I think he's very misunderstood, but I'm a huge fan of him creative wise,
Yeah, and shout out to Jag as well.
Shout out to Jag always.
Such a powerful speaker. She's created so many enemies because she's over the target. And the more over the target she is, the more obvious it is that she's, exposing the truth. And I would love to get Jag and you on at some point in the future together to have a conversation. I think that would be phenomenal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to do that.
So if you're watching, Jag, let us know if you're up for that, please. And much love from the UK. All right. So we were going to start out by getting into this Johnny Depp story that I've never heard before. Blew my
Right.
mind what you were saying. And I think my viewers, a lot of them are going to be hearing this for the first time as well. So let's set the table. You were in business with his nephew. Is that correct?
That's correct. So his nephew, see, I'm adopted, right? So uncles, aunts, nephews, like all that is a little bit weird to me because I don't really have any blood, right? So like my uncles and aunts that I've raised with all my life. So anyways, I'll just explain it like this. Johnny Depp's sister, he has two sisters. Christy Demrosky is his manager, right? And that's his sister. And his other sister, her son is named Billy Rassel. And I met him in Kentucky, right? Because I was pretty much raised in Louisville, Kentucky, my whole entire life, and he's in Lexington, Kentucky, because he was running Johnny Depp's mother. Johnny Depp's mother was Betty Sue, and she had a farm in Lexington, Kentucky. And so Billy was running the family farm and taking care of Depp's grandmother. So we used to go out to the family farm because Lexington is like a 45-minute drive away from Louisville. So we would go all the time, to his family farm, and we started working and doing projects together. And he would bring his uncle in. The first thing we did was, if people Google it, it's out there. It was like in 2011 or 12, we did this Kentucky project because Johnny Depp is from Kentucky. He's from Owensboro, Kentucky. And he would always spend a lot of Christmases with his mother in Lexington, Kentucky, right? So we did like this Kentucky CD at the time, and Johnny Depp was involved. We had like the Nappy Roots and like other influential Kentucky people on it. And that was all right. But, it didn't do what it should because Johnny Depp was involved, right? It should have been a huge hit, it would seem. But his nephew would always tend to screw things up, right? And then we did 4 other projects together, always bringing his uncle in, screw things up, and it was always his fault. And so this has been going on for like over 10 years, Sean. So during the pandemic, right after we did Eric B. and Rakim's Follow the Leader Reimagined as Jazz, that went #1 on Billboard, and we would take older songs and reimagine them in different genres, like switch up. So we did after we hit #1 and we were like on the Billboard charts for 11 weeks, then we did the Notorious Big project, and we reimagined Biggie songs, which are very violent, as you know, and very aggressive, as house and techno music. And we ended up signing with his estate, which was part owned by Diddy, right? Because Diddy and Biggie were hand in hand, right, with his career. So when I did that project, and we were like on Rolling Stone, Spin Magazine, we were hot. Billy contacted me, and he was like, my uncle and I want to do Marilyn Manson reimagined, right? Because Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp are best friends, like best friends. So I went out to LA, talked to Billy, and we talked about putting it together. And then I flew him to Dallas, and we were in Dallas talking about the whole project, putting it together. His uncle's going to be involved, which is crazy. I wasn't a huge Marilyn Manson fan, right? I was, I didn't know a whole lot about him. As I started to get into his music, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's insane, right? So good, and then I go to Brooklyn and I start working with J-Pat from the Knox, who signed to Scooter Braun, and this DJ named Mink, who's part of Circo Loco, which is huge in like Ibiza and Tulum. He's real big in the house and rave scene, right? And so we're in Brooklyn, and we're doing this amazing project. It's authentic, like house and techno music, because I'm sure you know about house music and stuff like that. When people say EDM, it's like, yo, don't say EDM. House and techno is not EDM. Totally different. That's what the heads say in Brooklyn, right? So we're going to all these underground parties. We're getting the sounds that we want, Marilyn Manson. So then he invited us to come to LA to work at Johnny Depp's home studio, which is in Hollywood on a cul-de-sac, right? And he owns the whole cul-de-sac, all mansions all across the thing, except one house in the front that Johnny hasn't been able to buy for like 25 years. It's some doctor who's like squatting. So he's got all the homes, like 9 homes where he has his family members, staff, and everything else. So we're in his studio. Obviously, I'm excited, to be in his studio and his home and see his art and everything else. And we're doing Marilyn Manson, and we go back to the Airbnb, and we had all these artists started coming in during the pandemic because everything was shut down. And as they're coming over, everybody's just buzzing, right? They have, of course, because they get to work with Johnny Depp. They get to work with Marilyn Manson because, he was going to have Marilyn Manson on the project as well. Johnny Depp on the project and some of his friends, like Depp plays in the group Hollywood Vampires. So we get like Alice Cooper and Dave Grohl and like all these, insane people. I mean, it's Depp. He's connected to everybody, right? And so many musicians, like they rent out his studio and they come, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. They go to his studio, and that's what we were doing, right? So as we're going on, we also had a remote studio where we keep all the artists, right? Because we had like 20, 30 different artists who was just going organically who wanted to be involved. And it was like American Idol. We were auditioning people to do parts, and it was just buzzing. But we couldn't take all those people over the liability over to Depp Studio. It could just be me, one of my business partners, Billy, and the other producer, this guy named 41X, right? And so we would record all these tracks and to take over to Depp Studio. So as we pretty much take all the tracks that I did in Brooklyn, all the stuff that I'm doing in LA, and then all of a sudden, like I said, everybody's buzzing. The allegations come out about Manson during the Me Too movement, and he was canceled, right? And everybody started to come down on him. So of course, that kills our project because Depp was struggling at the time because of the Amber stuff that was on the horizon. And he had, the Pirates of Caribbean stuff wasn't happening. And it was just a bit crazy. We have all these people overexcited, and now everybody's like, what's going on? What's going on? The project is like dead, Sean. And it was like so depressing because we had got investors. Everybody's throwing money at it because it's Depp, like people from Dallas, people from LA. And now it's like, okay, now what do we do? So it was Depp and his nephew's idea to say, okay, let's take some of these tracks, let's save them, and let's turn it into Nirvana. And he was like Nirvana reimagined. And he was like, I can get Dave Grohl on that because Depp was good friends with Dave Grohl. And I'm a huge fan of like Nirvana, right? Like I love Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, obviously, Dave Grohl, love the Foo Fighters. So we went to tell the news of everybody, all right, we're shifting gears, like in the moment's note, because, I'm sure you've been there where you have to keep the excitement of the investors, of the label, of the people. We have to keep them excited. So we switch gears immediately. Hey, we're doing Nirvana now. So it's like, oh my gosh. So we redid everything. We did Nirvana. And everybody's like partying in these Airbnb houses. It's like crazy. Like everything that you could think is like crazy. I mean, people talk about Diddy parties, Depp parties are not as like freak. There's no freak offs, but it's over the top, right? And the celebrities that come by that stop in because it's a Depp project, right, was insane. So you would see the most craziest people like, is that really Leonardo DiCaprio? Is that really Matthew McConaughey? Is that, you know what I mean? Is that really Robert Downey Jr., who was like stone cold sober and was preaching to everybody about how they should be straight? But it's like Iron Man is here, and we're all on one, right? Like, because it's house music, techno music, and the Biggie estate is over there involved because Depp was filming, he had filmed that movie City of Lies, where about the murder of Johnny Depp. So it was all like tied together, and it was a beautiful thing. And then one day, Billy, as he's always messed up his whole entire life, I'm the one that has all these artists out here. We have contracts with all these investors. Billy had had a stroke like a month before, and he was supposed to be like stone cold sober. And I would tell him, like, Billy, you can't, don't party. He's like a kid, even though he's like almost my age. He's like a kid. You had to like parent him. Billy gets so obliviated drunk. And I was frustrated with Billy because he lived in Thousand Oaks, right? Which is an like 45-minute drive with traffic, hour and a half to Depp studio in Hollywood. So we would always be like waiting. And, it's like, Billy, why aren't you living on the property that Depp is telling like you to go to with your children and his woman, his wife, and me? Instead of us doing all this traveling, instead of renting out all these Airbnbs, why don't we just stay in one of the other houses with Depp that Depp is offering? And so Billy starts bringing that up. He starts crying, and he says that he doesn't want Depp around his children, nowhere near. He won't bring him to his house, won't bring him to the cul-de-sac because of what he experienced growing up as a kid, which he was, I don't know, I want to say the right word, but I don't know how to say it, but it was very inappropriate. He went through some very disturbing things, right? And he quit the project, left the project like the next day after he was like sober. I was like, Billy, oh my gosh, I can't believe you went through that. Thank you for sharing that with me. And he's like, dude, the project is done and we need to quit this whole entire project. I'm like, okay, we need to give back a whole lot of money. What happened to, Nirvana? Like, we've already told all these kids, all these people who are involved, what do we do? And he was like, I don't care. It's over. So I immediately leave that Airbnb. We get a different Airbnb, and we continue to record without Billy and without Depp, because I wanted to finish the project for the artists, for the investors, and everything else to follow through. Right. And just like, I was hoping that eventually, that Billy would come back around, and he never did. So the project started to really buzz. Forbes did a story on it. Grammy.com started supporting it. And I'm in Dallas in a hotel, and I get a FaceTime, right? It says Billy. I get a FaceTime, and there is his uncle right there. And his uncle grabs the phone, puts it up, and was like, if you continue with this project, I'm going to break your jaw in 2 places. I was like, oh, okay. That was weird because this is Johnny Depp, and I know what Billy had told me. And so I'm like, I'm going to finish the project because we started out. He was like, this is our IP. This is our intellectual property. I said, the splits remain with Billy and I. Even though he wasn't going to be involved, I'm still giving him the 50% because I wanted to follow through with the project. I couldn't, rip off all these investors and everything else. I had to finish the project, and he kept getting violent. You put that out, I'm telling you, I'm gonna ruin your career. I'm gonna shut this project down. And Billy's just sitting there listening, watching, and I'm just like shocked that this is happening. Right? The threats continued and continued and continued. And sure enough, they did exactly that, because Johnny Depp was working with this publicist named Melissa Nathan. And Melissa Nathan has been exposed over the last few months over the Blake Lively situation. And Melissa Nathan also worked with the Biggie estate, and she also worked with Drake. So she had like this huge vendetta against me. And all of a sudden, all the projects were gone. And I was like, holy shit. The label pulled out. The investors were pissed off. Everybody was upset. They did like a smear campaign. And I'm like, dude, I am just trying to finish the music and everything that we told everybody that we were going to do. I don't whatever happened between you and your uncle, that's your that's your business, right? And so I thought about this when I was talking about this on Real Life Street Stars. I thought about it and I thought, should I have aired out his trauma and what his uncle was doing him as a child? Is that really my place? But then I thought, Sean, I thought, there's always casualties of war. And this is a war. Because if Depp is going to be inappropriate to his nephew, think about all the other people he's probably been inappropriate with. And his nephew and his family knows, and they all stay employed by him. He dresses up as Captain Jack Sparrow and goes everywhere. He's got Disney. The kids love him. He does all these events. People trust him. You know, like Johnny Depp made a comment that said, you know, that I let Marilyn Manson change my daughter's diapers. And so it is so weird that, and when you're around Marilyn and Johnny together, it is dark, man. It is like Marilyn Manson is dark. He's just not like his music. In person, his name is Brian, right? So when he come to the studio, he wouldn't come as like Brian, he was coming as Marilyn Manson. They were dark, and there was so much drugs and alcohol and also, to go back, I'm sorry to bounce all over the place. Melissa Nathan was involved in the smear campaign against Amber during that trial. And that's one of the things that's came out, right? Because she's the one who set up all the TikTok stuff. She's the one to help bring Johnny Depp back. Everybody wants Johnny Depp to come back, but the guy's a scumbag. So I felt better about airing his personal stuff out because, like I said, how many other victims are there? What if I don't say anything, right? What if I don't say anything and there's so many people out there, so many children that are being abused? You know, he's part of the upper echelon of people that are like over people like Diddy. Because there's this one story, I'm sorry to just keep rambling, that Billy takes us, right, my friends, he takes us in Hollywood. We go to this grocery store, like a Publix, like a Kroger, and we're going in the back, right? And we're walking through like the back of a restaurant, and then we're in a cooler. I'm like, what the hell is this? Right? And then the cooler goes down, like it goes through a door, goes down an elevator. And then we're in the bottom of this floor, and it looks like a casino, right? And they sit us down in this chair. It's like super nice, super upscale. And then this woman brings in 10 women. It was like, take your pick. Like it was seafood. And so I have like 8, 9 guys with me. So they're like, oh, her. And I felt really weird because I was like, where are we? Right. And they didn't do anything. They just sat with them for an hour. And that moment was like nothing I've ever seen. So this girl that ended up sitting next to me, I was like, what are you doing? You know, like what this is your job? Like, where are we? And she was like, oh, only have a minute. I was like, look, here's my Instagram, right? What's your Instagram? I can't give it to you. Here's my phone number. Call me. Let's talk. You know, because I was like, I was interested to know who she was and where are we? I've never seen anything like this. So the manager, whatever, gets the girls out, come out. Your 2 hours are up at the table. We leave. And then I started to think about that like a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later. I've been thinking about that moment. Like we were in a place where they traffic women for sure. I saw it because these people were from out of town. They couldn't speak very English, and they brought him in to sell off. Like, take your pick, take your pick. And those are Depp's people. That's Billy's people. That's the type of places that he goes to. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like I got to speak out because what people have done about Diddy, I think Depp is much worse. Like, much worse because he's connected on different places than Diddy is. So sorry to ramble on. That's all.
No, that's
you
great.
know?
We love it when you come out the
So-
gate with a 20-minute story. That's what we want. It makes my life easier. So a few people in the chat are
That's great.
saying, you know, what is the credibility of the nephew? Is there anything corroborating this?